Let's see if I can finish this video during lunch break. So I was at the kickball game. In a kickball game, a ball is kicked and travels along a parabolic path, which would be x squared, parabola. The height h in feet of the kickball t seconds after the kick is modeled by height as a function of time. It's negative 16t squared plus 24t. A fielder runs a route that will allow him to catch the ball 3 feet above the ground. So that's literally saying, good, turn it in for me if you would. It's saying the height is 3. I was recording.
Okay.
It's okay. Height is 3. So we're going to take that 3 and we're just going to put it right here. 3 equals negative 16t squared plus 24 times. And that's the equation you could use, and we could solve that by hand. We don't have to today. We will a later day at some point in time. But use technology to find out how long the ball has been in the air when they catch the ball, around the nearest tenth of a second. So the idea on these is we're going to place that in y1, and we're going to place all that in y2. That's pretty simple, actually. But getting kids to push the button's a whole nother thing. You know, if you're at home, you can play along. You can download an app for your phone. You could go buy a TI-84. You can get a TI-84 from the library. You can. Might consider it. Of course, we're using the X instead of the T key. Don't be that kid. Every year a kid asks me where the T key is. We use X. All right? Anyways, we do zoom 6, just like I did a few minutes ago in a previous problem. There's y equals 3, your horizontal line. Here comes an upside down parabola. Maybe we'll see it. And there's 2 intersections. There are. There's this one right here, which doesn't make, oops, I hit the wrong button. Let me zoom in. Because I know you're probably watching this on your cell phone. It's really small. So zoom in. There's actually 2 answers to this question. Only one of them makes sense. Unless he's just really close. So you have this first intersection that happens almost immediately. That's as though the kid is standing in front of the kicker. And then you have this answer over here that makes more sense because they're talking about a fielder, somebody out in the field. But let's go ahead and get both answers so we can talk about them. Second, trace, 5, intersect, get close, press enter once, twice, thrice. We got a time of about 0.138 seconds. I'll call that time 1. I'll round it appropriately here in a little bit. The second time is off to the right. I'm going to take my little cursor. I'm going to get it close, and then I'm going to press enter 3 times. Once, twice, thrice. It's about 1.362 seconds. Now this answer, again, is not a fielder. That's the guy who's throwing the ball or rolling the ball in kickball. So this answer right here is what we call extraneous. Doesn't make any sense. This is the correct time, and it's about 1.3 seconds, which is pretty quick. Seems quick. I might have had the velocity too fast. So there's your kickball problem. Moving on to ACT. About half of y'all missed this on the last basics question. In the standard XY coordinate plane, what is the slope of the line given by the equation 4x equals 7y plus 5? You notice the ACT put a 4 there? That's because way too many kids think that you always find slope in front of x. You do when it's in the right form. And this isn't in the right form. It's y equals mx plus b. And I'm actually just going to shift stuff to the left and leave y on the right. And try not to make a sign mistake. I just about did. I'm having one of those bad mental days. Anyways, I want a singular y, so I'm going to divide out the 7. And there is my slope, 4/7. Because it's got to be in the form of singular y. All right, 18. For which of the following conditions will the sum of integers m and n always be an odd integer? So the only way to really explain this is to just make up numbers. It really is. Like, I'm going to let m be 2 and n be 3, and I'm just going to check it. Actually, I'm going to go through each condition. It says m is odd. Okay, so maybe m is 3. And it doesn't say what n is. So n could be 1 or n could be 2. It doesn't matter. But 3 plus 1 is even. So this is false. Choice G, n is an odd integer. So if I'm looking at choice G, n could be something like 5. But it doesn't say what m is. M can be anything. M could be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 itself. And we're talking about sum, right? Which means we add. But if I do 5 plus 1, I get an even. So this is true. H is m and n are both odd. So maybe I let m be 3 and n be 5. 3 plus 5 is even, and I always want to be odd, so gone. This is retarded. If you pick J, something I should not have said that word. If you pick J, just no. If they're both even, you're going to have an even result. It's going to be that one. One of them's even, one of them's odd. Anyways, watch that get flagged and not get uploaded to YouTube. Oops. The lengths of two legs of right triangle ABC shown below are given in inches. The midpoint of segment AB is how many inches from A? This looks like a special right triangle. I know everybody tells me how much they hated geometry. Hopefully you learn that pattern right there. If not, we're going to have to do Pythagorean theorem. I don't want to. But I know that 8 times 3 is 24. I know 8 times 4 is 32. So this must be 8 times 5, which is 40. Now they talk about the midpoint of AB, which would be halfway down 20 inches from A. It's about 3, 4, 5 right triangles. The ACT loves 3, 4, 5s and 5, 12, 13s. And there's another one I can't think of right now. Brain fog is too high. The length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than the width. The picture is worth 1,000 words, and your good test takers are drawing. Your bad test takers are not. Let's see here. We have a rectangle. It has length and width. We'll call the width W. The length is the width plus 5. That all comes from the text. It says the perimeter is 40 inches. So if I have a W on the right, I have to have a W on the left. If I have a W on the plus 5 on the bottom, I have a W plus 5 on the top. And I know that perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So if I take 2 of these lengths, I'd have 2W plus 10. If I take 2 of this widths, I'd have 2 more W's. And it's equal to 40. I subtract 10, and I get 30. So 30 equals 4 widths. I divide by 4. And as tired as I am, I believe that's 7.5. A width is 7.5, which is exactly what they're asking for, width. 8% of 60 is 1/5 of what number? Now, to take 8% of something, what you do is you multiply it by 0.08. So we're going to do 0.08 times a 60, and that's going to give you 4.8. And they're asking us 1/5 of what? So this is a fifth of something. To find the original, we multiply by 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 8 is 4. Put it together, you get 24. And, you know, if you don't believe me, what was I doing here? Anyways. Come on. Back to that. I came up with 24. If I divide it by 5, I'm going to get my 4.8. If I divide that by the decimal of 8%, 0.08, I'll get 60. Work my way backwards. Armin is trying to decide whether to buy a season pass to his college basketball team's 20 home games this season. The cost of an individual ticket is $14 and the cost of a season pass is $175. The season pass will admit Armin to any home basketball game at no additional cost. What is the minimum number of home basketball games Armin must attend this season in order for the cost of a season pass to be less than the total cost of buying an individual ticket for each game? This is just basic multiplication. You don't have to write equations. Like if you did 8 times 14, what would you get? You get 102 and 112. 80 and 32 is 112 bucks. You did 9 times 14, I guess you'd get 126. And the goal is to make that cheaper. What would you do if you did 13 times? If you did 12 times 14, and by the way, this is an arithmetic sequence. I like that because we were just doing that. If you add 14 to 128, 138, 142. If you add another 14, you're sitting at what, 156. It looks like it's got to be choice K. That seems wrong. That is incredibly wrong. What is the minimum number? Am I doing something? Oh, I'm an idiot. Forgive me. What's 12 times 14? It's 120 plus 48. It's 168. And 13 times 14, we'd add another 14 is 182. So yeah, 13. If he goes to 13 games, he's cheaper off buying the season pass. Ooh, I'm tired. All right, the next one. There's a property we use in algebra that's going to make this one work a lot better. It talks about something to the A over something to the B, and it's going to be x to the A minus B. So I'm doing that because of this right here. I've got 4.8 divided by 1.6, and I'm going to move this stuff up top. So I have times, I had a -7, and I'm going to take away the -11. Now, when I look at 4.8 and 1.6, I think 48 and 16, that's 3. And a -7 plus 11 is going to be 4. 3 times 10 to the 4th. Scientific notation, you should be talking about that in chemistry right now. And I'm done. Good, because I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore. So, till next time, later.